let's go ahead and jump into our waiver wire segment.
Yep. Best time of the week is waiver wire time. So we'll start. We're going kind of deep this week. A lot of these guys might be a little lesser known, a little lesser rostered, depending on where you're playing. But starting it off with a guy who has multi-position eligibility is Joey Ortiz from the Brewers. So it seems like we have a ton of Brewers on here. Every week we talked about Tyler Black a lot,
Yeah.
and he's now down. But Joey Ortiz was one of the pieces that the Brewers got in return for the Corbin Burns deal. So he's now seemingly playing just about every day, which has been very good for them. He is batting 292, 15 RBIs, scored 16 times so far. His ratios are really good, and he's striking out roughly around 16%, which is good for a young guy like Ortiz, who, this is really his first shot at everyday playing time. So, yeah, he's batting near the bottom of the order, but he is getting on. He is scoring. And I believe his walk rate is around 12 to 13% as well. So he's getting on base. He's doing what he needs to do to be a performer in that lineup. And I think, again, given the state of the waiver wire right now, now we're getting to that point in the season. You got to really dig deep for some of these guys. But I think Joey Ortiz is a great option for middle or corner infield. And I like him, especially in cats and in roto.
Right. Yeah, definitely good. We always like this flexibility at the positions, man. So
Yeah.
And I noticed a lot of times when we were doing these waivers, a lot of the guys have a lot of multiple positions. So
Yeah.
Our next guy does too, which is David Fry, and an interesting case too.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So David Fry plays for the Guardians. He has catcher eligibility, but he's not playing catcher every day. So he has played. I don't even know if this is all encompassing, but he's played left field, first base, third base, catcher, and DH this season. So he has position eligibility on most platforms at catcher, first base, and outfield. So maybe he even gets third base eligibility at some point. But getting the production from a catcher spot when a guy is not playing catcher is a nice little hack, right? It's like the Taysom Hill scenario in fantasy football, right? Like if he does play quarterback, you're getting him in the tight end position. So, you get a lot of these crazy stats.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's hitting 325, 14 RBIs. He scored 17 times. He's even swiped a couple of bags, right? So I like him purely for the position eligibility. He's got pop. He can, he's getting on base. So definitely, if you need help, especially at the catcher position, if you missed out on the William Contrerases of the world, if you needed somebody because he seems to sit every 3 or 4 days, David Fry is a nice multi-position guy to grab off the wire.
Yeah, I was looking at the News Herald. There was an article they wrote up there, and it said, "So where is Fry's true home, if you will?"
Yeah.
And it says, in truth, he probably doesn't have one. He's been behind the plate 11 games. Both Naylor and Hedges have been, more action there, of course. 7 games at first, 8 games in left field, which is the regular positions of Naylor and Stephen Kwan, respectively. So it says, what a bonus for the Guardians to have someone like Fry step in and play left field, when Kwan's out or wherever someone's injured, wherever he could fill in, So It's nice to have a player like that for sure. And in fantasy, it's all that much better for the rest of us.
Exactly. And again, there's the potential that when Quan comes back, he's not playing every day. He goes back to a bench guy. But I mean, I'll take the lottery ticket on somebody like this, especially in a deep league where you need flexibility on your roster. You could do way worse than David Fry.
Absolutely. Next guy on the list is a guy we have spoken about already today, and we said that it's injury fill-in, injury replacement. He's definitely made his worth felt very quickly, and that's Luis Matos.
Yep. So we already talked about it. Rival of the week for good reason. He may have already gotten swiped up based on his weekend performance, which would not shock me. But if he is available in your league, I think he's the top priority this week for sure, especially if you need outfield help. Matos is showing why he was a top prospect, and he hasn't walked yet, but he hasn't struck out either, which is a really weird stat. It's a small sample size, and obviously that'll change. But he is very aggressive when he is hitting, right? So he's making contact, he's putting the ball in play, and I believe his BABIP is reflective of that. I believe it's a little bit higher than the average. I don't know it off the top of my head, but he's getting some good breaks when he puts stuff in his in play. So grab Matos wherever you can if you have the ability to drop somebody to do it.
Yeah, hopefully he can stay healthy. Like we can't
Yes. Yeah,
take another
please.
injury
Yeah,
in
the
this Giants
Giants
outfield.
cannot handle any more injuries to that outfield. My
Yeah,
goodness.
they're getting beat up out there,
Yeah,
man.
getting crushed.
Some honorable mentions at hitter. Listen,
Had
Ahmed has made the list.
had to get your boy in there, man. Had to
Ahmed
get your
has
boy in
made
there.
the list, man.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
We're talking about
JD,
JD Martinez, man.
let's
We
go.
love JD. DH eligibility is really all he's got right now, but he's hitting 315. Only 9 RBIs, 2 homers so far, but if you watch him, it feels like the power is coming back slowly but surely. So if you need DH or you need a utility guy, love us some JD Martinez moving forward too.
Absolutely not mad at it. A couple of other guys here on your list. You stop me when you want to mention something about somebody. We got Davis Schneider.
Yep, Toronto, love him.
Interesting. Brenton
Got a great
Doyle.
stash, great stash.
Great stash. Brenton Doyle. Colorado.
Value to be found in the Rockies lineup, and you get the Coors Field bump. He's been very good, very under the radar guy. So don't let him pass you by if you need the help.
Yeah. Eddie Rosario, who we spoke about last week as well.
Yep.
He's back on our list.
Yep.
And Garrett Cooper for Boston.
Yeah. So Cooper is one. He's interesting with Casas on the 60-day IL with the rib issue. It feels like Cooper's probably their best, infielder outside of Rafael Devers right now, which, he's hitting the ball. And I think, first base is kind of that weird nebulous position in fantasy where sometimes you want power, sometimes you need guys who hit for average. He's going to do a little bit of everything, and he's a good stopgap because he's going to probably play most, if not every day, in this lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just some prospects really quick, some quick hitting prospects. Now, we've mentioned these guys, most of them, right? I believe the last couple of weeks. So we're still waiting on some things to, change for these guys' situations. But the guy whose name just, I don't know at this point if the viewers are just messing with us or what, because again, we gotta, you said the name wrong. It's Cam in Arrow.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I don't know what to tell you.
So just
what if we just call him Cam in Arrow?
I'm just gonna start calling him El Caballo Loco. Like I'm just gonna start pulling out a bunch of C sounding names and just call
that works.
Senior Camaro, the third Caminero, right? But no, so Junior Caminero, I don't know what else he has to do in AAA to get called up. Everything I'm reading from the beat reporters in Tampa are basically saying that Isaac Paradis is probably the best player on the Rays right now. He's hitting well. And then they have Brandon Lowe, but they've tried, apparently in the minors, they've tried moving Caminero to second. They tried, moving him to different positions. It didn't go very well. He's a below average defender at shortstop and second. So he has to play third pretty much until he gets more reps at the big league level elsewhere. So I don't know what the heck he's got to do to get called up, but stash him if you got the bench spot. It's a matter of when, not if, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'll happen in due time, man. Yeah. Due time. Next guy on the list, James Wood, who was actually the minor league player of the week in the International League. This guy has five home runs, 12 RBIs. Come on, man. May 60, 12th, just lighten it up.
What's
going on
here? So all I can guess from what I've read from the DC beat is they're waiting for Lane Thomas to come back. I believe Joey Gallo came back this weekend. It sounds like they're just waiting to maybe move one of their outfield pieces to try to get some value before they bring Wood up. I think that's dumb. I think James Wood needs to be getting reps at the big league level because he's like a cornerstone for this team moving forward. So the Nationals should bring up James Wood yesterday and let him play and see what happens. It's even if it's another Jackson Holiday situation, like who cares? Let's see it live, right? Like I think it's better for them to see what he's got now. So he's a priority stash for me as well.
All right, absolutely. And then was there any updates on Dominguez or Martinez? I know we spoke about them last week as well.
Yeah, Or Elvis Martinez, he struggled this last week, so he's been striking out a lot more than he had been to start the year. So promotion might not be imminent now, but given how much Toronto has struggled offensively, you never know, right? He could come up and be the everyday second baseman for all we know. So keep an eye, but he's got to get the strikeouts down before he comes up. And then Jason Dominguez, he's in single A right now, started his 20-day window for the rehab assignment. I have a strong suspicion he will end up at triple A once that 20 days are up. Because the Yankees don't really need him right now, like we talked about last week. So he has started his rehab assignment. Keep an eye on him, see how he does, see how the elbow reacts to swinging the bat.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So those are the hitter prospects that we're trying to keep an eye on. And you guys let us know, as always, with any of these segments that we're doing, any of these topics we're discussing, drop your thoughts in the comments. If you think we're missing players, if you have, thoughts on the players we're talking about, whatever it is, whether you just want to correct how we pronounce their name, whatever it is, drop it in the comments. Again, no comment goes unresponded to. We respond to everything in there. So drop your thoughts in the comments. And again, we're going to go through the waiver wire pitchers really quick, and then we'll get to any questions you guys have in the chat. Whether there's 1 or 1,000, we'll get to them. All right, pitchers. First one, Alek Manoah.
Yep, I'm doing it. I'm saying it. Look, guys, look. I'm not saying he's back. I'm not saying he's Alek Manoah of 2 or 3 years ago when he finished third in the Cy Young voting. Okay. I am saying this purely from a streaming perspective this week. He looked very good against Tampa Bay on Sunday. And then the next couple matchups are the White Sox and the Tigers. So 2 lineups that are struggling right now. And it looked like he had a lot more break and command on his sinker than he has in the last couple of times he's been out there. So if he has figured out the command in any capacity, he's worth a look. The Blue Jays are going to keep giving him a shot. They've invested too much time and money and publicity into Alek Manoah to not give him another go. So again, this, like I said, this is a little bit of like the deep league stuff. If you got the chutzpah to do it, I think Alek Manoah is going to be fine for you over the next couple of starts.
Yeah, if you guys remember, like Manoah was the guy who like crapped on Cole and all this kind of stuff, and then just so the jokes were flying for sure.
Yeah, the fastball and the mouth stopped playing up, and we saw the downfall pretty quick.
Yeah,
Cliff, and he drove directly off of it.
The next player on the list, we talked about him in Rivals of the Week, but Jose Soriano, again, the Angels pitcher, crushing, man.
So love him, especially in like Roto Cats. Big fan. So he's not gonna like overpower you. He's done okay in points leagues. Like he's not getting negative points or anything like that. But 11 Ks across 13 innings pitched, right? So he's last week. So like not a big strikeout guy. He's not overpowering anybody. But his last 2 starts were against the Cardinals and the Rangers. He had a 0.69 ERA, very nice, and a 0.92 whip rate. So he's sub 1 on a lot of these counting stats that are going to be pertinent to your leagues. So I think he should absolutely be more widely rostered, and he's a great guy just across the board. He's a back of the bench guy, deep league guy. You hold him 10, 12 team leagues, you can stream him, I think, pretty comfortably.
Absolutely. And it's funny because you have a Brewer here as a pitcher as well, which we had a hitter on the waivers for the Brewers, and now we got a pitcher, Joe Ross.
Yep, we're sticking with it. It's if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, they lost 2 or 3 to the Astros this weekend, but the Brewers are still a good team. So yeah, Joe Ross. Again, this is one of those like grittier options. It's not as flashy, but he's very much, in my opinion, a ratios guy. So a accounting stats guy more than he is a points guy. So his last 3 starts, 3.38 ERA, which is respectable, certainly. Opponent batting average of 186, right? And the whip is 0.88. So he's not, it seems like a lot of the damage is coming on the long ball more than it is, he's not giving up a ton of hits. He's not giving up a ton of walks. He's getting a couple of really good hits off of him. So And Joe Ross is that dude. He's been around forever. I think he's been in the league for like 10 years. And he
Yeah, I
just,
was gonna say he's like 31, so he's not one
yeah,
of these like young prospects everyone wants to hear
yeah.
about. He's a an
And
older guy, if you will, older.
yeah, older by MLB standards, right? He's like a year older than me, but okay. So, but like you, he's not going to be flashy. He's not going to get you a ton of points, but I like him, especially because he's also a two-start guy this week. So he's pitching tonight, and then he's likely slated to pitch on Sunday. So yeah, I think Joe Ross, you could do a lot worse. And then tonight, the main reason that we're talking about him right now, he gets the Marlins tonight. So it's a pretty good matchup for streaming pitchers and for your DFS slates. So you could do much worse than Mr. Joe Ross.
Listen, don't mention the Marlins to me right now. I got PTSD for my Mets and Marlins the last few games. I mean, I know
Yeah,
the Mets won
man.
the last game, but before that, they gave them like 10 runs one game. They got blanked out 8-0 next game. So
The
I'm
fish
still
just
scarred.
decide to show up when it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it
Pretty
was a
much.
division game, I guess, which is why they did it. But you never know with them. But I'm still going to target them for most of my streaming pitchers and my DFS pitchers because, yikes.
Absolutely. You have some honorable mentions for us? Some guys you want to run through?
Yep. So talked about a few of these guys over the last few weeks. Dean Kremer, again, also I believe a two-start guy this week. Ben Lively for the Guardians, been a pleasant surprise. Javier Assad for the Cubs. Stop sleeping on him. I almost put him in instead of Joe Ross, but talked about him enough. Get Javier Assad on your teams. And then Eric Fetty and Andrew Heaney, kind of your deep streamers, not great situations, but they have to go out there and eat some innings for these teams. And then again, just mentioning Ryan Pepio in case he was dropped while he was on the IL for whatever reason. Just see if he fell through the cracks because he should be rostered everywhere.
Yeah, for those over anxious owners who just can't help themselves from panicking and dropping players
Don't
too
panic.
quick.
Don't panic.
I always like a good stash, man. A good stash. Any guys that we should be thinking about?
Yep. So mentioned him earlier. Devin Williams, closer for the Brewers. They've tried a lot. They've tried McGill. They've tried Piamps, and then they've tried Abner Uribe. We're kind of seeing them all cycle through. So I think Devin Williams will take the closer spot back pretty quickly. So stash him if you have the flexibility. And then someone to keep an eye on it. Old reliable Clayton Kershaw. He and I believe it was Bobby Miller this weekend. Both threw off the mound. Through some sim games. So we might see Clayton Kershaw back before the All-Star break, maybe. But you could do a lot worse than if you need some starting pitching. He'll be fine. He's Clayton Kershaw when he's on. He's on.
Right. Yeah, it's not one of those guys you got to worry about.
No.
And then before we always jump out of the waivers, 2-start pitchers, my favorites. Let's talk about some of them.
So we're gonna run through these guys real quick. The article will be up later today. Bradley boys, stand up. Taj Bradley, we got him tonight.
Hey, let's go, Bradley boys.
So another one, scary matchups, but I'm still running him out there until further notice. Dylan Cease, he has the Braves and the Yankees this week. Don't care. He's still Dylan Cease. It doesn't matter. Framber Valdez versus the Angels, and then versus Oakland. That's nice. Those are two very nice matchups. So Framber might be like my top 2-star pitcher this week behind Taj Bradley, of course. Then last few, Clark Schmidt for the Yankees, Joe Ross, Mitchell Parker for the Nationals, and then Javier Assad, I believe, is also a 2-star pitcher this week for the Cubs.
Gotcha. All right, there you have it, man. Those are our pitcher waiver wires, our hitter waiver wire must adds, and of course some prospects, some 2-star pitchers, a little bit of everything, Brian.